Hey everybody. So we have this really awesome 442 in the shop today. It's kind of a little bit of a mess, but we're fixing it. Check it out. It's a 1965. It's a 55-year-old car that's been repainted. We're pretty sure just once, probably in the early-ish 80s if I had to guess, because it does have a little bit of clear coat on it. And since it has a little bit of clear coat, let me show you what's going on here with this car. Yeah. Let me go ahead and pop the light on for you here. There we go. Very good. Turn on the light. I'm sure you can see all that mess. So all the surfaces that face up towards the sun and sit there and get baked have been thoroughly baked. And all these other spots you see here are hard water spots that have now kind of bit their way into the clear coat and the paint. So we're trying to correct some of it without over-correcting it. What do I mean by over-correcting it? Could we wet sand it all the way down and have the paint perfect? Yes. That's not what the client requested us to do. We're just trying to balance the car back out. What do we mean by that? I'll show you. So the rest of the car, as you can see, don't mind the dust. It's been in storage for a while. We just got it yesterday. I think Linnell may have even put up a video about it, but as you can see, the trunk is exactly like the roof, which you can see right there. So the trunk is like the hood and the roof up there. And so we started doing some correction. Like you can see all the swirl marks, all the hard water spots and stains all over the place. And if you look really close, you can see that the paint, like even under the paint, I mean, even under these basic swirls that are pretty easy to come up, the paint's just old, right? So it has some hairline scratches and stuff in it. So we went ahead and wet sanded, started the process of wet sanding the up-facing panels, I guess you could say, to balance out with the side, because the sides will polish back pretty nice because they don't have nearly the hard water stain problems and whatnot. But when you take, oh good, the vacuum's off. Thanks guys. That's so much better. Okay, but it's possible to take it from this to this. Don't mind that, there's some damage on the trunk, but if I back up here, you can see the difference in the levels. So this has been wet sanded from 1000 all the way up, and then compounded with McGuire's 105, and then hit again with a blue pad and some more products to just finishing products to level it back out. But if you get close, let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see it a little better. I don't know if I can focus it. It doesn't want to focus. How about if we focus over here first? Let's see, there we go. So you can see all these little hairline scratches, all of those. We're not getting rid of those because the sides of the car over here have those same types of just age-appropriate paint defects at this point, right? So when people ask, oh, what does wet sanding do? Wet sanding takes the car from looking like this and makes it look like that. Anyway, if we were to give you a quick look, you can see where it's, you go from there on that side of the trunk to over here. Even with the light here, you can see those imperfections aren't on the surface of the paint, they're underneath, because the paint's just old. It's just kind of dried out because it wasn't very well maintained. Down here is a little better, but you can still see all the little marks in it. But all right. Anyway, so that's it. Say hi, Linnell.
Hey, everybody.
Here's Hannah, there's Linnell. We're working hard today. They're working on that. We're not talking about the Mazda, and I'm working on this. Okay. There. Good morning. Working on the 65 old, so wet sanding it. As you can see, it's a wet sanding mess. When you wet sand cars, it literally makes a mess of everything. This was left wet last night, and you can see just the residue. When we wet sand cars, we wet sand the whole thing first, and then we wash it and get all this filth off of it, see where we're at, make sure we're good. We dry it, obviously, make sure we're good, we haven't missed any spots. If we do, we touch them up. And then, you know, then we go ahead and go through the multi-step paint correction to get it there. This panel used to look exactly like this panel, except this one I wet sanded this morning. It's still wet, but when you wet sand, if it looks like this wet, it should look like this when it's polished. So I'm going to give you guys a quick demonstration here. I got the light all set up, and we're going to show you what it takes to take it from this to that. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to put this on a quick time lapse for you guys. But the wet sanding process, since I haven't touched this, we're going to go from a 1200 grit sandpaper. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me put this on the tripod, the other tripod. There we go. Portable tripod to the stationary one. There you go. Okay. So, when you wet sand, you go through a multi-step process. This sandpaper is 1200 grit. Then we're going to do some 2000 grit. And I have some 2500 grit around here somewhere. Let's see. Let's see where I put it. And and some 2500 grit. The paper actually lasts quite a long time, but we're gonna start with 1200. Normally I would start with 1000, but I ran out. I thought I had another package of it. I don't. And honestly, between 1200 and 1000, there's really not a huge difference. But it just helps bite into it a little faster, but that's all right. Not a big deal. So anyway, you can do this two ways. I'm more comfortable doing it with the panel wet. There are plenty of detailers out there that'll do it dry. I'm just more comfortable doing it wet. I like doing it wet because you can see the results. Like over there, you can see what it's going to look like once polished when you wet it. So as you can see, when you wet this, you can still see all those marks, and all those marks have to go, obviously. The haze you see here, that part comes off pretty easy. It's the hard water spots that are much harder to go through, take a little more effort. But again, we're trying to make the paint not have this haze and all these hard, heavy water spots. And we want this panel, the roof, and the trunk to all match the sides of the car without wet sanding the entire car. We have to stay within the client budget and while giving them the best service we can. So this is what we're doing to do that. Anyway, I'm gonna put this on a time lapse for you guys, and we'll talk some more in just a little bit. All right, here we go. Okay, so let me take out this for just a second here and show this. All right, so you can see this is still wet, obviously, but you can see the difference. If you wet this, you can go through and you can see all the marks here pretty easily through the water. But when you come over here, the wet sanding, I did happen to find another piece of 1000, so I started with 1000 as opposed to the 1200 I showed you guys before. But we were able to do that. In the course of wet sanding, Here, I'll show you the water here. See how the water's white? The white is actually, when you wet sand, that white residue you see there is actually the clear coat. Why you can wipe it away. It's actually the clear coat being sanded off. Thankfully, this particular car, since it has apparently been repainted at some point, being a 65, it would have had a single stage paint job. For those of you that don't understand what that means, single stage, back in the day, cars had an enamel type paint on the bodies, where nowadays they have a base color paint, and then they obviously clear coat nowadays on top of that to protect it. It's better in the sense that one compared to the other, single stage to modern day base and clear coat and primer, it protects the car nowadays, because nowadays cars have a UV protectant inside the clear coat to help minimize the paint from fading from the sun. Back in the day, they didn't really have that, and cars would have to be maintained better. Back in the day, you used, regular car wax. You would get the tub of your turtle wax and you'd rub it on your car and polish it off and whatnot. Nowadays, we have better substances. We have paint sealants that last, 1 to 3 months, 6 to 9 months, and from there you get into ceramic coatings, 1 year, 5 year, those types of things, 3 years, 2 years, depending on what you want to do in the brands that you're looking at. But polishing a car can remove some of these marks. But what we're doing here, wet sanding it, you can see the difference. Wetting this, you can see the difference between that and this. Again, we're not trying to make the paint absolutely perfect. You can spend days, if not weeks, wet sanding a car to remove every imperfection and every blemish. We're just not trying to do that in this case. We have a budget, we're sticking to it. In the end, it's going to be a very well balanced, polished, beautiful car. But all right, I'm going to put you guys back in the tripod and finish up the rest of this hood. And I guess we'll just time lapse the rest of it. And then once I'm done doing the 1000 grit, then I have to go up through all the other steps, and I'll probably just show you the end result, because this is going to take a couple hours anyway. I'll probably be here, let's see, it's 10:30 now, which means I'm going to be doing this portion wet sanding for at least, I would say, 3 to 4 more hours, because I only have done a single wet sand on that side over there. So I still have to finish going through all of the other steps here, and I have to do the same thing. Hey, there's my coffee. I still have to do the same thing on the roof. So we're gonna get there, but it's gonna be a bit. So I'm gonna put you guys in the tripod here. I will give you a few more minutes of watching me wet sand, because I'm sure it's just fascinating, but I'm gonna do that on a time lapse for y'all. And then I'm probably just gonna power through this, because I gotta get this done for the client, because this has to be polished. The interior still needs to be done over there, which is super great. You guys want to see the interior of this thing? I can't remember if I posted any pictures of it. We haven't touched the interior yet. I want to get this part done first. There's some things to do. But this car is so amazing. It's so great. We're going to talk to the client about replacing the modern radio and put a old school looking radio with the modern technology in the background. I think he'll appreciate that. So we're gonna go through and get that done for him. But this is such a beautiful car. Man, I love it. Listen to that. Sounds fantastic. Door sounds thick and heavy, because it is. But we're gonna make this car look beautiful. So I'm gonna get back to it, and we'll talk real soon. Back on the tripod again. All right, here we go. Now, we've gone through, done one pass of 1000 grit sandpaper over the entire hood. And in case you're wondering what it looks like when it starts to dry after 1000 grit sandpaper, there it is. Right. That's what it looks like. You end up with this gross, dusty slurry. I don't even know if you can see that on my finger, but you end up with this slurry of essentially sanded clear coat. Luckily, this car had a lot of clear coat. There you go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through the process of sanding some more. It is now 11:32. My arms are sore. I have only a few hours left to finish sanding this, and then we have to wash it and then polish an entire car. And I have to leave on time today because I need to be home. It's gonna be a long day. Okay, so I'm gonna put you guys down for a while and go through the 3 more layers, or 3 more grits. There we go. That's what I'm looking for, grits. 3 more grits of sandpaper. We're gonna do 1500 or 1200, 2000, and then 2500. And then we're gonna wash the car. We're gonna see how good it looks. It's not gonna look good until we polish it. I'm just kidding. Okay, I have to get back to work because I'm running out of time so fast. All right, here we go. Well, okay, we're getting there. It's white sanding is so much work. For those of you that have never done it, if you're a detailing company and you're following us, it's a great skill to have, but it is an amazing amount of work. But the results, almost always worth it. Assuming you don't screw it up and, you know, sand through the paint. But anyone that's done wet sanding will tell you, if you haven't sanded through paint, you just haven't been doing it long enough. That's about the way it works. I think we're actually going to be doing a class here on wet sanding. I think I'm going to teach a class over the winter. So if you are interested in learning how to wet sand, we're going to offer a class later in the winter. Just to teach some other people some skill sets. Anyway, let's get back to the car. I gotta be honest, I'm super in love with this car. It's great, it's coming out well. Gone through and we've done half the roof. I have the other half to do over there that's still dry. But this side we've gone through pretty much the whole thing a couple times now. I think I've wet sanded the roof now like 6 times because I found some other parts I wasn't quite comfortable with. Again, we're not trying to make the paint completely perfect because the sides of the car are not getting the same treatment. So when you do a project like this, you want to make sure it's a balance. You don't want to make one area of a car perfect and the other part of it not perfect. Your clients won't appreciate that as much as they'll appreciate the parts of the trunk, or the parts of the car, I should say, that are done correctly. They will not appreciate that their car no longer matches from top to bottom. So we're just, while we're doing this, we just want to balance it out. If you've seen the video and the clips on the Roush Stage 3 Mustang, the Grabber Blue one we've done for Chris, that one got wet sanded all the way down, but the entire body was done. Whereas this, we're just doing sections and portions to complement the rest of the car so everything blends. But it's okay. I have just a small section left to do, and then it's time to wash all this clear coat slurry off the car. We have proven out that this car was painted. We did find a couple of sections while I was doing this here. Right along the A-pillar here, all of this area was clear coated and wet sanded out just fine, including here. But right here along the A-pillar, from about the top here down to about, I don't know, about here or so, this is actually just single stage paint. There is no clear coat on it, so we lately used 2500 grit sandpaper on that, just so when we polish it, it matches everything else nicely. So the next thing to do is this side of the roof, which, although right now looks kind of disgusting, it'll look good in a little bit. You can totally see the difference on on that side there. So anyway, hold on. Hannah wants something. Say hi.
Hello.
All right, she needs me to do something, so I'm gonna let you guys go and I'm gonna get back to work right after I'm done doing whatever Hannah needs me to do. We'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, so we're done making a slurry mess on the car. And we are now going to the team. We're all going to wash the car now. And then we have to polish it before tomorrow afternoon. Oh, and Hannah's gonna do the interior tomorrow too. All right, okay, so anyway, we've gone over the whole car, wet sanded everything. It's looking pretty good. All right, you guys ready to do this? Yeah. We're doing this, okay, and then we're gonna work on the Corvette. Corvette's next. We're good. We're definitely gonna get there. For now, we're doing this. All right, see you guys in a bit. Oh, before I forget, look at all the carbon fiber. All of this is going on that. That's my next little project. There's no instructions. I'm sure that'll go fine. Okay. Very good. Okay, the whole car is washed and cleaned up. Might be a couple touch-ups on the white walls we gotta do. I'm stupid and I meant to put the camera on the tripod so you guys can watch the process in this video here, and I'm stupid and I forgot to put it in there. So, anyway, the car went from dirty, slurry, wet, sandy mess to clean. And now we're gonna dry it, and then Hannah's gonna do the interior today, and then we're probably gonna polish it tomorrow since it's now 3 o'clock. So yeah, it's gonna be great. What are you practicing over there?
My water bottle polisher.
Oh, cool. He's crazy. Again, we're not talking about the Speed 6. That's just we're just not talking about that right now. But yeah. This is the unwet sanded side, and this is the side we wet sanded, and all of this whole hood area, the roof, and the trunk in the back all have to be polished. And you can tell that because these trees are already starting to dry. But all right, here we go. We're gonna get to drying this sucker so Hannah can do the interior. Say hey, Linnell. See, he was supposed to be like, hey, Linnell, and then he didn't do it because you messed it up, bro. You messed it up. Oh, Hannah's doing laundry, and oh, she's promptly waiting to dry this. All right. So she's waiting on me. So now I'm holding up progress. That's never good. All right, we're gonna get to work. We'll put this on time lapse this time since I didn't do it the last time, and we're gonna dry this sucker and get it ready. All right, stand by. Go, 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 go. Okay, so if you've ever wanted to see what wet sanding looks like after the process but before the polish, this is for you. Check it out. Let me back up a second. So before, when you saw the car when it was wet before we dried it, it looked like everything was perfectly fine. The parts we wet sanded looked exactly like the parts we hadn't wet sanded, which is kind of what you want. But in reality, the side of the car looks clean and nice. These be polished. You can see all the scratches and stuff in here. Like, you can see all the scratches. We're gonna remove all those starting today and tomorrow. Hands gonna do the interior right now after she's done some of the drying. She's gonna hit the interior, but we're gonna polish these scratches off. That's from a rag from washing a car. But up here, you can see just how damaged the paint now is from wet sanding. It looks like an absolute mess. However, when we compound it, it's gonna make it exactly like the side of the car here after we polish it. It's gonna look mint. So, that's what, if you ever wanted to see what it looks like, right there, that's the stuff. That's the end result of wet sanding. The paint looks absolutely atrocious. However, you saw what it looked like before. And then, well, I'll probably honestly get to it in the morning, first thing. I have to head out at a good time today so I don't get in trouble at home. But, okay. All right, I'm gonna help Anna finish drying this and get her set up to do the interior. And then we'll probably pick this back up tomorrow. We'll do a couple little snippets on the inside so you can see that part of the process too. But, all right. How's that going? Going? It's going. It's going. Drying is always a process. Especially before you polish a car, you gotta get all as much of the water as humanly possible out. So, all right. Until next time. Okay, so this is just the first pass. Again, the paint's not perfect. It's been years since it's been properly maintained, so you can still see some of the imperfections in the paint, but if you come really close, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it in here. No, it's really hard to see it. But if you come really, really close, oh, there you go, you can see it right there. The marks in the paint are actually cracks in the paint underneath the clear coat. And there's basically nothing we can do for that. I can't fix that part. But anyway, that's what it looks like. It's coming back. The entire car is gonna be very, very well balanced when we're done polishing it. That was just a first quick pass with the polisher, nothing crazy. Just a test to make sure everything's coming back right. And it's good enough. Because sometimes you wet sand a whole area or a whole car, and then you start to polish it and you realize you just didn't go quite far enough. You didn't do what you needed to do. So you have to go back and hit it again. But we're purposely not going for perfection on this car because it needs to match the rest of the car, which is not perfect. Like the paint on this car, the rest of the car is not perfect. There's things like this, right, where there's dents and that's a pretty good chunk of paint missing. Same with this, it's a pretty big chunk. So, but we're trying to balance it out so the car looks correct all the way around, not absolutely obliterated on one portion and looking reasonably okay on the other. So, okay, I'm gonna get back to polishing this section. I guess I'll put it on the time lapse and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. All done. Looking good. So as we talked about before, apologize for the breeze. The hood, the roof, and the trunk were fully wet sanded. Those areas. The paint is not perfect. It kind of looks like that in the sun here, but it's old. It's old paint. It's all cracked underneath. Man, did it come back nice. Came back super nice. The car's a driver, right? Like you can see the imperfections. I don't know if you guys can see the cracks in the paint or not. I don't think so. It's so reflective now. You know, it's a driver, right? It's got the blemishes around the window and whatnot. Little spots in the paint. But compared to what it looked like, we'll take it. Interior got all done. It's a great driver car. I would love one of these. Came back nice, came back nice. All right, everyone. Love the sound of those old school doors. All right, well, that's it for this one. Thank you guys for following us. If you could like, subscribe, and share. Check out our other channels on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those. That'd be awesome. Super appreciate you following us. All right, you guys have an awesome day. Peace.